Right here, down. Protect your out. We put the work in. Let's finish. Come on, man. Let's do this. Man, we gonna do 1, 2, 3.
See, we dream chase, cause that's all we was given to start with. Then we realized the dream was obtainable. Now look at us.
What's going on, Eagles Nation? Welcome to the Main Thing Podcast presents. It's your boy, Mr. Owens. And after further review, the call stands. I'm still official with no stripes.
Hey, what's going on, Eagles family? This is your man, Big Huss, the one you trust. Bring you all your Philadelphia Eagles latest. Hey, we're coming to you right after the Christmas holidays, hoping everybody stay blessed, stay warm, but we're here to discuss a disappointing loss to the Commanders this past Sunday, 36-33. Uncharacteristic loss, as we talked about, a weird loss. And a game that started off so promising took some unfortunate turns. You know, you had some key injuries, just some undisciplined football down the stretch, and we couldn't close it out. So our 10-game winning streak comes to an end. Mm-hmm. This was a game where typically when you win the turnover battle, you win the game. There was a 5-1 turnover differential. Somehow we still lost. It just, from the outside looking in, you may question the Birds. We don't question them. We still have a great team. It just, this is a little hiccup. Things got a little weird for us here. Only real pluses to take away from this victory are that the Cowboys and 49ers are now out of playoff contention.
Yes.
But other than that, bro, how you feeling about this loss, though, man?
Like you said, Big Huss, this was definitely an uncharacteristic game by us. It seemed like you said we were very promising in the beginning of the game. Of course, I love the fact that we always defer to the second half because normally we're a second half team. We play our best ball in the third and fourth quarter. So kicking off to open the game, that's something that I do like to see. Our defense came out and made a statement on the opening drive, forcing the Commanders to go forward on fourth down, making a big stop on Brian Robinson Jr. We then get the ball back in great field position. We go down, put it in the end zone, go up 7-0. It seemed like we were going to build off of that. And unfortunately, of course, we're going to dive deeper into it once we go into our offense and defensive segments. But it seemed like, of course, when QB1 got knocked out of the game, it seemed like that the life got sucked out of the Birds. It just seemed like they were disinterested. But overall, the coaches, I feel, did a great job. I'm not going to put this one on the coaches. It seemed like they put us in position to win. It just seemed like I said the players were disinterested and just became unenthused in the game. And somehow, some way, the Commanders rallied back and gave us our loss in a lot of weeks. Like you said, we were on a 10-game winning streak. So this one stung a little bit, of course, because we're very familiar with a lot of people in the DMV area. So you know that the Commanders fans came out talking junk, saying, "Oh yeah, we beat the Eagles. We did this. We did this."
It was their Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was their Super Bowl. Their big hurrah. But we know, like I said, we didn't play our best brand of ball. And sometimes we got to take the silver lining out of things. We lost, but to look at it, this is a game where we can learn from a lot of our mistakes. We can go back into the film room, get prepared and refocus because we have bigger fish to fry. Even though we lost to the Commanders, it's not the end all be all. It's not the end of the world. So let's not jump off a cliff and say, "Hey, I don't know how to feel about the Eagles anymore. I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl." No, sometimes the best teams do get beat. Unfortunately, that best team was us. But like I said, we just need to regroup, refocus, and we'll get back to the brand of football that we know and love.
Yeah, and look, this was a loss, yes, that we took, but this was the first time that we faced the team twice. So this was second meeting versus the Commanders. They did some new things, interesting things, especially when QB1 went down. Speak on that a little bit. For those who don't know, quick injury report: QB1 went out with a concussion, and that just completely changed the tide of the game. But first time seeing our second team or another team twice, excuse me, and they kind of had our number to a degree. Started off bullying them, but to their credit, they kept fighting. They were relentless, did not quit, and they crawled their way back into this game. Definitely a good teaching tape. A lot of things to learn from if you're the Eagles from this game, but overall, you should not be discouraged.
Mm-hmm.
Not one bit. The hit on Jalen Hurts, bit of a dirty hit, very reminiscent of the Jadeveon Clowney hit on Carson Wentz that we all know. No flag. You may see him in this upcoming week. You may not. If I'm the Eagles, they'll more than likely rest them because you need QB1 moving further as we move throughout these playoff run.
Mm-hmm.
But moving into the offensive side of the ball, takeaways.
So, like you said, we started off phenomenally. QB1 seemed like he was locked in. He was being very decisive, getting the ball out of his hands quickly, making the right reads. It just seemed like the offense was in full unison. They were all playing for one another. They knew their assignments. Unfortunately, like you said, Frankie Louvu came over. I think I personally like Frankie Louvu as a player. He plays very, very hard and physical. But I feel that it was an intentional hit. For those who don't know, when you play football, sometimes coaches always say you don't intentionally want to hurt a player. But if you have an opportunity to get one of the best players out on the opposing team, they'll tell you straight up, get that player out so that it could work in our favor. Once Frankie Louvu came over, he went down with his shoulder. Jalen Hurts was QB1 was already going down from Bobby Wagner tackling him. I felt that Frankie Louvu opened up his hand and placed it on his helmet and mushed QB1's head into the ground, causing the concussion. Of course, those who don't know, a football field, especially grass, is very, very hard when it gets cold outside. And I believe it was like in the mid-30s. Yeah. So, of course, we saw QB1 get up. He was woozy. He blinked. But once he went out the game, I just felt that, again, like I said, the life was just sucked out of us. We had Kenny Pickett who came in. He was serviceable, but he did make some errors in the game. I felt that Kenny Pickett wasn't prepared, nor I did give some credit to the coaching staff for having preparation, but they weren't expecting QB1 to get injured. So I felt that they didn't have a game plan prepared for Kenny Pickett in this time to come in for QB1. But one big major thing that I took away from Kenny Pickett was he looked rattled. He wasn't seeing a lot of open receivers in the game. He was leaving the pocket and bailing too early in the game. And especially like we talk off camera, because when you start scrambling out to either the right or the left side, you cut the field in half. So now you're limiting your options. With Kenny Pickett being who he is, you need all of your options open to pass the football. But especially one of the big momentum changes was when Frankie Louvu baited him. Frankie Louvu was going to go out to the flats with Greg Calcaterra, but then he peeled back in front of AJ. He threw the interception, and that kind of was not the end-all be-all, but you could kind of see, okay, cool. We were on our way to either going up 17-0, possibly 21-0. Now it's a game because they came down and actually scored on that drive and made it 14-7.
That gave them a little bit of life. I don't want to say it was a total momentum shift, but at that point, they were like, okay, it's time to ball. You could see just the energy in the stadium starting to change. So I agree with you there. That was
most definitely,
monumental play.
And like I said, Kenny Pickett, for some of the throws that he made, I will give him credit. He made some clutch throws on third down, and fourth down to AJ, to Smitty, and things of that nature. But it was a lot of meat left on the bone with Kenny Pickett in there. You can clearly see how valuable QB1 is to our offense. Once QB1 went out, the Commanders smartened up. They got Ken Norton Jr. over there as their defensive coordinator, I believe. And he's been around the block for a minute. He played football at a very high level, playing linebacker when he played football. But they started switching to more of a zone, daring Kenny Pickett to beat us with his arm, because they knew, okay, well, with QB1 out of the game, we know Kenny Pickett, he's not a threat to run. He's not going to pull the ball on an RPO. So they sold out to stop the run. Hence why we saw Saquon in the first quarter. Saquon had 7 carries for 109 yards, averaged 15.6 and 2 touchdowns. After that first quarter, once QB1 went out, when it was no more threat from the quarterback position to pull and run, when I rewatched the game, in the third quarter with 6 minutes and 40 seconds left, it was a stat. Saquon had 13 carries for 24 yards, averaged 1.9, and had 0 touchdowns. But overall, Saquon did what he can do. Kudos to the line for being awesome in run blocking, especially on that 68-yard run that Saquon had. The vision, the burst, the blocking scheme that they had for Saquon was phenomenal. But it's kind of hard when you put 8-9 guys in a box and you're trying to run the football. That's very difficult to do. So Saquon did all that he could. I saw that we try to do some variety with Saquon also in the game when we put him in Wildcat formation. And I actually like the play when he ran to the right and rolled out to the right, think like he was going to run. They wanted Smitty to bait and act like he was going to block for the run and then free up at the last minute. I believe Smitty was there. But as we all know, Saquon's not a quarterback. Saquon maybe plays catch in the backyard with his kids and things like that, but he didn't want to put the ball in harm's way and force that. So he didn't throw that. And then other than that, A.J. Brown, excellent game. He had a phenomenal game. He was matched up with Marshawn Lattimore. As you know, these two have history dating back to when Marshawn Lattimore was with New Orleans. A.J. Brown, as you know, made some crucial catches and some big time catches, but then as you also know, he had some blunders as well. And he would tell you from his own mouth that a lot of the catches a lot of the drops that he had, he should have come down with them. But it didn't help the fact that Kenny Pickett underthrowed some of the receivers. He made them slow down. He threw it behind the receivers, helping the defenders to be able to punch the ball out and break up the pass and make it incomplete. Smitty was big on 3rd and 4th downs, but we all know Smitty had that one crucial drop. 9 times out of 10, even 10 times out of 10, Devontae Smith makes that catch. If he makes that catch, obviously we seal the game and dwindle down the clock, because I believe it was just over 2 minutes. The Commanders had 1 timeout. And we know we catch that, we're here talking a different story. We're here with 11 straight victories instead of taking that defeat. But we can't all just put it on Smitty's drop. It was a collective effort in this game. Also, the offensive line did very, very well with run blocking, as I stated before. Also, they did great in pass blocking as well, giving Kenny Pickett ample time to throw the football. It's just sometimes I feel like it's some miscommunication that goes on with the offensive linemen. As we talked off camera, Big Huss, we know that we have the 2 best tackles in the league. Lane Johnson in pass pro didn't have his best game. But one person who I really want to single out is Mekhi Becton. For as much good as he does, sometimes he has 1 or 2 boneheaded plays in the game that causes dysfunction. It was one play in particular, Big Huss, where everybody was blocking to the right. I don't think Makai back then got the memo. He starts blocking to the left. So now that frees up Deron Payne, who has all pro talent, who is one of the best defenders on Washington's team. Shot up the gap, got Saquon. I believe if Makai Becton heard the check and heard the call and blocked the correct way, Saquon had the sideline on the right-hand side. He might not have scored touchdown, but he could have got a big chunk gain in that, and it could have been just a different scenario. But where I feel that we need to get better is, especially one person who we talked about off camera, Big Huss, is Grant Calcaterra. For as much as a great pass receiving tight end that he is, we also know he struggles mightily in the run game. It's a few times where we either run directly to his side or we put him in motion and then run behind him. He misses the blocks on the defensive end or the linebackers, and then they penetrate and get behind our line of scrimmage and stop the run. It's a stat where Saquon in the first quarter, 99 yards out of his 109 in the first quarter, it was non-contact. But then after the first quarter, 18 of his carries, he was hit 11 times in the backfield.
He felt he was on the Giants again. My man was having flashbacks. No.
Not this again. I thought I got away from the Giants. I thought I got away. But it's something where that's another person we're missing heavily, Dallas Goedert. Mm-hmm. For him, we knew when he came out of South Dakota State, he wasn't the best blocker, but he worked on it, and has become one of the best blocking tight ends. But like we said again, once QB1 went out the game, the whole dynamic shifted. Kenny Pickett wasn't ready. And then also, I don't believe that Kellen Moore helped or aided the offense or Kenny Pickett once QB1 went out, and we just saw it started to unravel because as we talked about off camera, Big Huss, it was a few drives where we got the ball back numerous of times in great field position, but our drives stalled out, whether that it had been Kenny Pickett missing open receivers, not making the correct reads, whether we're missing blocking assignments and Saquon's getting stopped in the backfield. It was just an abundance of issues that went on with our offense after such a promising start. And then one that is mind-blowing is the fact that this was the first time that we scored a touchdown on our first two drives since week 14 of 2022. So more than a year that we put up two touchdowns in our first two drives. Like I said, I like the fast start. We just couldn't get back to our brand of ball how we know.
No, absolutely. And truthfully, it was just that. Once QB1 got hurt, the offense stalled. There was a possession tracker. Jalen Hurts, first two drives, 14 points. Kenny Pickett inserts the game. Next 12 drives, 19 points. Now, the defense had got 5 total takeaways. 4 of those takeaways, we were only able to muster up 12 points. That's letting you know that this offense is not cashing in. You're settling for field goals, and against an elite offense, not so much an elite defense in which you were competing against in the Commanders, you have to put up points. Field goals will not cut it. Kenny Pickett overall, like I said, he's the backup. It wasn't the worst game, but he could have gave us more. Like you mentioned, panicked in a lot of situations, missed and underthrew receivers, running backs, bad pocket presence. He wasn't aware of his protections, line sliding right, leaving an open defender on the left-hand side. You have to be cognizant of that. Get the ball out of your hands fast or check into a play that can combat that. You could just tell, like I said, he wasn't prepared. As you had mentioned, Kellen, I don't believe, was prepared for Kenny Pickett to be inserted in this game. And you can just tell how the game flowed after Jalen Hurts' departure. I didn't feel that he had got a lot of help just holistically from the offense, this being Kenny Pickett. When your backup quarterback goes in, the other 10 guys, the other coaches, they have to look at each other and be like, hey, man, we have to pick this slack up. You had this is like we opened with, this was an uncharacteristic game where you had all your superstars, your 3 superstars, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, they all dropped passes. Some of them in key situation and key moments in the game. I don't know if we've ever seen or ever had that or in a game since they've been here. So I just felt like the supporting cast, when it counted, because don't get me wrong, A.J. Brown and Smitty, they had some key 3rd down conversions, key 4th down conversions. But when it mattered most and we had to have it to put the game away, they did not come through, and we're not used to seeing that. Like I said, like you had mentioned, when QB1 went out, it seemed like the whole offense mentally kind of just downshifted. Yeah, I mean, we have a new play caller at the helm, a new guy giving out commands, and I don't know if it really stuck with everybody. When have we ever seen true miscommunication like that along the offensive line? You mentioned on the run play, the whole offensive line's going right, but you have Mekhi Becton going left. I don't know if we've seen it, the miscommunication of, especially when you talk about a Jeff Stoutland unit, seeing something of that nature. That could be just that, the person at command giving out play calls. I'm not hearing it the same. I've been listening to one guy for 16, 17-week streak, whatever it is. Now you get start this guy, the communication wasn't there. So I thought that was a big thing. You had already mentioned the running game. And even the passing game for that matter. Folks like the dog QB1 out. Can't do this. You can't do that. We don't know if he's elite. And I'm not saying that he should win MVP, but when you talk about most valuable player, you're talking about if this player wasn't on this team, how would this offense look? How would this team look? Well, you just got a glimpse of it. As much as y'all like the rag and tag on Jalen Hurts, he was removed from this game. You inserted the backup. This offense with all the toys that it has looked very pedestrian. His influence in the run game, it halted Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, although he rushed for 150 yards, first quarter, 7 carries, 109 yards. Those following 22 carries, 41 yards. Run game completely done. Jalen Hurts had 41 yards on the ground himself. Shot. Pass game. Kenny Pickett, you're not seeing people. You're underthrowing players. I mean, you're panicking. You're feeling the phantom rush. Just the team the team's mental, it just seemed like it wasn't there. We kind of got really lackadaisical. Jalen Hurts' influence on this team is real. You are not winning a Super Bowl with this team without Jalen Hurts at the helm. He is the captain. Okay, captain. Okay, he steers this ship. Yeah, I mean, I think this was, and not that you wanted to play out like this because you never want to lose, but this game just put that on a macro scale, for the world to see. We talked about Saquon Barkley. Just some quick stats. You know, he's chasing greatness, the Eric Dickerson record. He's only 268 yards away from that, meaning that he would need 134 yards rushing in these last 2 games to achieve that. I'm not too sure if they does it, depending upon how this Cowboy games go, and if we really even want to play players in the Giants game. It's still obtainable, but more than likely the Eagles will put Super Bowl over record, and I'm sure Saquon will do the same thing. You had mentioned the O-line. The O-line, per usual, great for the most part. Run blocking. I believe pass blocking this game, they struggled a bit, especially once Jalen Hurts was removed, because you don't have the threat of him having to use his legs. You know what I'm saying? So run game, defense is ears pinned back, war on Saquon. This is your complete running game is going through him. They almost sold out at times to stop the run. Then, like you said, they went from playing man coverage early to zone. They wanted Kenny to throw the ball. Please, Mr. Pickett, pass the pill, because we don't believe you can get it done. And he made a few plays, but it was ultimately said and done. He didn't get it done. And I think that was just a lot on Kenny, but somewhat on there was no game plan for Kenny as well. Jordan Mailata continues to be great. He continues to be not only one of the highest graded Eagles, but one of the highest graded players in the NFL this year, if not the highest graded player. Lane Johnson was solid. As you mentioned, to me, I won't say the biggest question mark, but the biggest flag or whatever you want to call it for this game would be Mekhi Becton. He has to tighten up, make sure you're getting communication, and just really understanding your assignment. Now, when I do go to coaching, when you look at our offensive line, we have big mountains of men. These are massive men for real. Mm-hmm. This offensive line is built to lean on people, wear you into submission. I don't want to see this line moving east to west as much as we did in this game. I would prefer this line to be going downhill, especially when we're talking about the running game and everything, to allow them to impose their physical stature and physical prowess on defenders. I felt like it was too much east to west in this running game, especially after Jalen Hurts had exited. So that's one of the things I expect Stoutland to really clean up. But overall, like you said, it's hard to knock an offense that puts up 33 points. 33 points in any ball game in the NFL, you should win. But we didn't. There were a lot of things to clean up on this offensive side of the ball. If QB1 will not be in here in our next matchup, then we need to have a solid game plan for Kenny Pickett to, as you mentioned, aid him in future victories. But moving to the defensive side.
Also,
you want to mention something? Sure,
yeah.
Go ahead.
And also because, like you said, we didn't put Kenny Pickett or the offense into an advantageous situation. One of the key takeaways that I noticed was throughout the whole season, we've been phenomenal on third down offense and conversions. The fact that we went 3 for 16 on third down should tell you the whole story. It should tell you a lot of how the game went, how the drive stalled out, and why we couldn't progress the football and put up, like you said, points instead of field goals, touchdowns.
Yeah, for sure.
On the Commanders. And like you said, a lot of people want to harp on, is QB1 this, is QB1, he's not that good. He can't throw the ball. He can't do this. As we have seen over the last 2 or 3 seasons, whenever QB1 goes out, whether that be Marcus Mariota comes in, whether that be Gardner Minshew comes in, and now Kenny Pickett comes in, we see how much the offense falls off without QB1 being at the helm. That's just something that I wanted to throw out there because.
Yeah, no, but to that point, and you would think, as we mentioned, more than any team in the NFL, the Eagles value QB2 the most. So in some instances or some regards, I'm kind of shocked that there was no plan for Kenny Pickett whenever he was to enter the game for whatever reason. It just wasn't there. Mm-hmm. So I'm shocked that we didn't have that in place. And moving forward, I expect us to have that contingency plan ready, just being the way QB1 plays, more of an aggressive quarterback, especially when he gets the running and everything, still learning to slide and do all of that. But he gets hurt as the seasons progress. So moving throughout the playoffs up until we win the Super Bowl, you know what I'm saying? there you go. Bring another one of them home. Yeah, bring another one of them to the crib.
We're going to bring one of these home.
You feel me? I expect us to now put a plan in place for him just in case. I mean, because we were kind of caught off guard and kind of caught with our pants down a little bit, and just not prepared. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it showed 3 for 16 on third down is ridiculous.
That's atrocious.
You know what I'm talking about? Hey, 4 turnovers or 4 takeaways by your defense, you score 12 points. Ridiculous. That makes no sense, especially when you start talking about this offense and the weapons and people that you have on this offense. It just doesn't make sense.
And especially when you say Kenny Pickett was a first-round pick who was chosen to be a franchise quarterback. You can understand that from a 5th or 6th round player.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, he might not be able to do many things, but somebody who was a former first-round pick, I expect more from Kenny Pickett.
Absolutely. And then also to mention 3 for 16, a lot of those 3rd and short, 4th and short. What do you usually see on 3rd and 4th and short and 4th and short from the Eagles?
Tush, brotherly shove,
tush push, whatever y'all want to call it. You didn't see that in this game. And it's not like Kenny Pickett is a smaller guy. So that goes to, you just can't put anybody behind this tush push and expect it to work. This is a play that is strictly designed for this offensive line and this quarterback. You know what I mean? So I think that attributed a lot to us not converting on those third and shorts and fourth and shorts. We're not used to actually having to run plays other than the tush push. You know what I'm talking about? So we were a little thrown off with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'll have to work on that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, moving to the defensive side, takeaways, things you saw, concerns maybe, if you're having those.
So, as far as the defense, I'm not going to beat them up too bad. You can't beat up a defense that forces 5 turnovers. Right. As we have spoken in the past videos, if you all been watching, we've been saying, hey, we've been getting the ball out. We've been punching the ball out, causing fumbles. They just haven't bounced our way. And sure enough, the week where they bounced our way multiple times, we couldn't capitalize on that on the offensive side. But our defense played sound and fundamental for the majority of the game. The defensive line was getting pressure on Jaden Daniels. I like what I saw out of Jalix Hunt. I like what I saw out of Breadman, Jalen Carter. I like what I saw out of Nolan Smith, applying pressure on the edge and keeping contained on Jaden Daniels. They were pushing the pocket, penetrating the pocket, getting to Jaden Daniels, making him get off his spot, making him sell the ball at times. Also making him throw the ball earlier than he wanted to at times. But when we needed to finish, we didn't finish. What I noticed was a lot of times Washington on first and second down, they weren't winning first and second down. They were playing behind the sticks a lot of times, whether it was 2nd and 14, whether it was 3rd and 11, even some instances when it was 4th and 11, and we gave up a 30-yard scramble to Jaden Daniels, which I feel was a major backbreaker going into the 4th, which shifted the momentum. The linebackers, Nakobe Dean, Zach Bond, played phenomenally. They were scraping, they were reading the run, punching the ball out of Brian Robinson. We actually made him fumble twice. I know Zach Bond caused a fumble on the screen pass to Denami Brown, where we got the ball back in great field position. But then, of course, CJ with one of his unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, pushed us out of the Washington territory and forced us back into our territory. Slay overall played a great game. Now it's one thing where Slay, and he'll say it himself, we have them pinned back deep in their own territory. You can't give up a 50-yard go ball. Denami Brown didn't do anything special. He just literally ran right past Slay and got that big play on him. But Slay overall, he's coming back. He's making tackles. He was covering the routes, being in phase, breaking on a ball perfectly. So I can't beat up on Slay too much. Reed Blankenship had a solid game. I would like to see him make some tackles. I know that he's a short tackler, but it was some tackles where I felt that Reed should have got the offensive player to the ground, but he missed the tackles. Quinyon, excellent game, but Quinyon got beat on a one play because we sent Bond, and it was 3rd and 8, I believe. We sent Bond and Jalix Hunt. Jalix Hunt was the free rusher. Bond got stopped, and Quinyon, to defend him a little bit on the pass that he gave up for a touchdown to Terry McLaurin. He, in his mind as a corner, if it's 3rd and 8, he's expecting the ball to come out quick, especially if you apply pressure. So he turned his back to the inside, thinking it was going to be a quick slant, an in-breaking route. But then, Quinyon, you gave up the sideline for the deep pass to Terry McLaurin. That's the only takeaway that I have from Quinyon. But overall, Like I said, the defense played sound. It's only so much that you can do, especially after forcing 5 turnovers. It's only so much that you can do until it's a time where you break down. And I feel like a lot of times we got beat on 3rd and 4th down. That's where the Commanders got their bread and butter on 3rd and 4th down, converting those. And as you mentioned in the video earlier, we are kicking field goals. They were scoring touchdowns. That was the difference in the game. But one concern, or well, 2 concerns that I have is we all know that people really don't like the Eagles. They don't like to see us happy. They don't like to see us win. So, of course, the refs are going to officiate and throw flags differently while we're playing. It was some, I'm not even going to say boneheaded plays because I felt that any defensive lineman does what Milton Williams and Breadman Jalen Carter did. The play I'm referring to with Milton Williams was when we got the first 12 men on the field penalty, and then it was after the Kenny Pickett interception. We got the first 12 men on the field penalty. Then Milton Williams is playing through the snap. Jaden Daniels rolls out, throws the football. Milton Williams gives him a little shove, what every defensive lineman does. You get a roughing the passer penalty on that. So it's an automatic first down. Then you flip it to Jalen Carter, Breadman. We stop. Nola Smith actually got a sack on that play. We're celebrating. Jalen Carter gives a little shove to one of the offensive linemen. They called that an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Then we all know, if you weren't living under a rock, CJ Gardner-Johnson. We know how passionate, how feisty. We love that. He plays with enthusiasm. He really truly loves this game. But I've never seen a player get thrown out for saying bad words or talking to the offensive player. When you're in a high stakes game, especially a division rivalry, and you're jawing back and forth, the fact that the Denami Brown, the Washington receiver, was able to literally mush CJ Gardner in his face mask, his helmet comes and flies off, and the ref, instead of disciplining Denami Brown, he looks over at CJ Gardner-Johnson and says, "Oh no, you," like he's disciplining him like he was his parent. That is egregious to me. We always talk about the refs calling it fair and things like that. But of course, they always look for, of course, Jalen Carter, CJ Gardner-Johnson to throw flags. But we just want the flags to be distributed evenly. Because there was a few plays where on Washington's defense, the whistle blows multiple times. 5, 6, 7 times, but they're still driving back our offensive players. They're still tackling to the ground. They're doing dirty hits, hitting helmet to helmet and things like that. And we're getting flagged for that, and we're getting the brunt and filling that. But like I said, I don't want to beat up the defense too badly because for the most part, they played a phenomenal game. I'm not going to say anything bad about Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio had them ready to play. Vic Fangio had them in position to make plays. It's just a lack of communication, which we haven't seen over these past few weeks, that kind of hurt us, especially the fact when Slay came up a little gimpy, and then Isaiah Rodgers came in the game. And then next thing you know, Keely Ringo comes in the game. They're confused. Instead of Keely Ringo just playing football, he's complaining doing this, while next thing you know, Olamide Zaccheaus slips behind him. Jaden Daniels hits it for a 49-yard touchdown. It was just a lot of uncharacteristic, undisciplined plays that didn't help us in this game. Like I've been saying, the Commanders are a solid football team. They're going to be a very, very good football team in these next few years. But the fact that they didn't beat us, I always say the Eagles are the only team that can beat us. We only beat ourselves. So like I said, let's just clean up those mistakes. Let's be disciplined. Let's get back to the drawing board and get back to our winning ways, because what I saw on Sunday, it wasn't the poorest outing like how when we played the Panthers. That was something totally different, but it wasn't our best outing. Hence the reason why we went back home to Philly with a loss.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. You hit everything truly. The flags, like you said, very uncharacteristic. But as a Philly defense, excuse me, you have to know that certain players are, for lack of better words, flagged now. The league is watching you.
Mhm.
If you do anything too aggressive, anything a little too extra, they're going to flag you for it. They want to flag you for it. They're looking for it. So players like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Jalen Carter, players who are known for playing on the edge, a little bit more passionate, a little bit more feisty, you know what I mean? Gonna talk that junk and everything else. You might have to dial it in just a little bit, because you could tell the league is getting a little ticky-tacky now, and they're going to want to call those things. They're looking for those things so that we could be flagged for them. Crazy stat: NFL teams that have forced 5 turnovers in the past 10 years are 71-5. So it's crazy that this defense, like we had mentioned, you force 5 turnovers, and somehow, some way, we still end up losing. We had mentioned a lot of those balls earlier were forcing the ball. They weren't really forcing the ball out. They really weren't bouncing our way. They really started bouncing our way this game. Had a couple interceptions from your safeties. This is a game where we gave up, I believe, this might be our highest yardage given up by the defense, with 368 yards of offense. Most of that coming in the fourth quarter. This is the first time since the bye week that this defense has given up more than 20 points. And then also, if watching this defense over the course of this season, this defense is built to mitigate explosive plays. Vic Fangio's defense is built to keep the ball from airing 30, 40, 50 yards, big runs. You want to keep everything in front of you. Interesting little stat from the game. We gave up 3 30-yard plays or more this game. All of those resulting in points. All of those coming later in the game. So I expect us to tighten that up, get back to playing disciplined football. Everybody get back to knowing your assignment, having proper communication channels with everybody, and everybody's being on the same page. We were just a little off in this game, doing things that we don't usually do, reverting back to a lot of that 2023 defense that we saw that was right near the bottom of the NFL. Defense, we talk about defense broke. This defense is built on bend but don't break.
Right.
And they were bending for a while. They weren't breaking. But you go to the fourth quarter, Commanders put up 22 points. Eventually, they broke. After having 5 takeaways, continuously trying to play complementary football, the offense just wasn't giving it back. And the defense eventually broke. But I put a lot of that, not so much on the passing game. I think that the turning point or the Achilles heel in this game was Jaden Daniels' legs. 9 carries for 81 yards. Over the past month, we've been playing mobile quarterbacks, some of the best. Lamar, Russell Wilson, guys who have Jaden Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And we've done phenomenal jobs on limiting these guys from rushing. Mm-hmm. When it came to our rush lanes and really containing the quarterbacks, the quarterback in this game, we did not do it. I saw a lot of times we were getting to our wide 9 techniques. We're rushing. Defensive players are rushing past the quarterback. With a mobile quarterback, especially a mobile quarterback like this one, an elite runner, you cannot do that. You get them in these 3rd and long, 4th and longs. I expect when I see this defense and we have offense in 3rd and long, 4th and long, I know we're getting off the field. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? We end up locking up on the back end. One half of the defense is doing their job, versus one half is not. The rush is coming up. They're pushing past him. He's running, converting. Had a 4th and 11 late in the game. He rushes for 30 yards. That was the game right there. You know what I'm saying? So it was just the defense was doing some undisciplined things, some things we haven't saw over the past 2 months or so of watching them. but I expect them to get back to their ways. The linebackers, as you mentioned, have played phenomenal. N'Kobe Dean had 12 tackles. Zach Bond had 10 tackles and a forced fumble. They had kind of put them in a bad position on the touchdown play of the game. When it sealed the game, we were running cover 2 in the red zone. They had kind of high-load them, put them in a compromising position. Either way, if Bond would have chose the low guy, oh boy would have threw it high as he did. If you'd have chose a high guy, Jaden Daniels would have thrown it low. It was honestly the perfect play call offensively for what we were running defensively. And you could tell he was holding it, that call for the majority of the game for the right time. You have Quinyon Mitchell, who has played phenomenal all year long. He really should be Defensive Rookie of the Year. He finally gave up his first touchdown, as you mentioned, squatting on the route. Honestly, I think even on the Slay touchdown, I think that was another situation where we had brought pressure and Slay was expecting something hot, and they just ran those go balls. If you're going to give us the fly ball, we'll take it. As Scary Terry mentioned in the interview, Quinyon, he's cornered, they like to sit a lot on route. So I saw him sit, I took it. So I expect the defense to kind of tweak that a little bit, maybe not sit as hard, maybe play it, disguise it a little bit more, hold it off to the last minute. You already talked about CJ Gardner-Johnson. Ridiculous. This is effing football. These are alpha men. Talking ish to another grown man should not get me ejected from an NFL football game. This is not Pop Warner. Okay? Like, truly, we're not kids out here. Yeah, like, what are we doing? What are we doing? But I don't want to say that there were some ulterior motives there, but it gave that vibe. It kind of gave that vibe, just getting rid of players, some of the penalties that had occurred in the game. But interesting stat from when CJ Gardner-Johnson was in versus when he exited this game, per Anthony DeBona, Commanders scored 14 points, gained 194 yards of total yards, had 4 turnovers and 9 possessions before CJ Gardner-Johnson was ejected. Commanders scored 21 points, gained 210 total yards, had 1 turnover and 4 possessions once CJ Gardner-Johnson was ejected. Mm-hmm. So clearly, him being in versus out was a big difference. You inserted Tristan McCullum, and y'all, if you go back, watch the videos, I'm a Tristan McCullum supporter. I really do think the guy can play. But it showed why he was a backup. The 4th and 11 play, when Jaden Daniels ran for 30 yards, Tristan McCullum missed the tackle. He gave up a touchdown. It was just, he wasn't mentally there this game. The communication wasn't there. We couldn't properly execute on the back end the way we wanted. Just the defense just did some weird things. The D-line overall played good. Like I had mentioned, they have to rush with better rush lane integrity, especially as you move through the playoffs. You start playing some of these AFC teams who have mobile quarterbacks, the Lamars, the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomes. You know what I'm saying? You can't rush past these guys and just give these guys open lanes to run because they will make you pay for it in the worst way. They are some of the better, most elite runners in this league that we have. So I expect us to clean that up moving forward through the playoffs, really get back to what we've been doing. Like I said, this is really the first game where I saw a quarterback run, I'm going to say run all over us, but run on us. Mm-hmm.
Even in the NFC, us, like you said, through the playoffs, before we even get to the Super Bowl, you have Jaden Daniels, if we see them again, if we're the number 2 seed and then they're the number 7 seed, if we have to see the Packers, he's not an electric runner, but
he can run.
But Jordan Love, he can run as well.
That he can. Mm-hmm. That he can. And it's looking like we will be seeing the Commanders for a 3rd time. So that's something to prep for. We played the run very well outside of giving up big yardage to the quarterback. The running backs had only had 32 rushes between them. Nolan Smith continues to produce, now up to 6.5 sacks. It seems like he's now our best pass rusher. If you want to say that, it's crazy. It seems like he's just showing up game in and game out. Not only is he pass rushing, he's stopping the run. He's good versus the run and the pass. He's truly rounding out. You mentioned Jalix Hunt played a great game. He's continuing to round out. Had 4 pressures on 21 pass attempts per Thomas R. Peterson. So he's making his presence felt on the game. Like I said, I know the defense gave up 36 points, 22 of those coming in the 4th. But overall, the day that the defense had it wasn't a bad day. They did what they were supposed to do for majority of the game, got a little lax late. I see no concerns there. You look out across the media. Has the Philly defense been broken? You know, is this the San Francisco game all over again from going back from last year and everything? It's none of that. It was none of that. I guarantee you this is a fluke game. We just got to get back to the drawing board, as me and bro say, get back to basics, get back to the basics and do what we do. You know what I mean? We will be fine. But we can't have self-inflicted wounds. We can't have players getting ejected. We can't have weird flags for dumb stuff. We have to be mindful. We have to be disciplined, but still play with that aggression. Don't allow the league to temper down what we do and what we bring as a defense and just as a team in general, and that's physicality and attitude. Anything else you want to mention on the defense right quick from the special teams?
Like we said, I just want to give credit to the defense. As we've been saying, they played a phenomenal game overall. But we can't have, I'm not calling individuals selfish, but we can't do things that are a detriment to our defense, i.e. the unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. CJ Gardner-Johnson, like you said, getting thrown out the game. We need to play as a whole because, like you said, we don't want to temper our feistiness down. We don't want to temper our aggression down, but be smart because the league is on notice. The league is looking at our defense, and any way that they can harm us and make sure that we're not going forward, we're going backward, they're going to try to do to get us out of our game and get us out of our rhythm. But overall, like you said, don't hit the panic button. It's no need to be worrisome. Vic Fangio has changed this defense totally. We have a different mindset than last year. This is not the team from last year. We were ranked, I believe, 29th or 30th last year. We're number one overall defense. So Vic, being the old school, hard-nosed defensive coordinator that he is, like he even said in one of his post-game interview, it's a blip. Hopefully we get past this blip, but I'm pretty sure that from here on out that we will get this thing right and keep moving forward and going to where we want to go.
Oh, for sure. I full-blown expect this defense. And truthfully, just this team in general, like somewhat take this loss personal. You know what I'm saying? For a various of reasons for real, as far as superstar players leaving plays on the field, the defense not closing the game out the way they would have liked. Yeah, I mean, special teams not contributing. We'll get into that in a minute, the way they're supposed to. Like I said, like Vic Fangio said, a blip. This team will bounce back. We have the leadership and the talent within this locker room to right this ship. This is not the team from last year. I guarantee you that. But moving on to special teams, look, special teams, this was not their best day. To say it lightly. Look, Jake, he made his extra points. For the most part, the field goals were there. Okay, but look, we need all our points first off, right? You can't leave them on the board. Jake made his first 50-plus yard field goal today. Or the other day, excuse me. I'm going to clap it up for you, brother. You know what I'm saying? But you have to continue on this train because now 50-yard field goals are the norm. Okay, and it's almost seeming like, I don't know if his leg is, or he's hurt, or his leg's just weak, or it's them taking off kickoffs, but it just doesn't seem like the power is in that leg right now. And moving forward, that may dictate some of Nick Sirianni's decisions as far as going forward, kicking it, punting it, this, that, and the third. Special teams, tighten up. Braden Mann, kickoff coverage. We have to get it together. And now don't get it twisted. The Commanders are one of the better kick return teams in the league. We're more so bottom in the pack, I believe mid-20s. But you can't give an offense of this caliber the short fields in which we were giving them. On average, they were starting off around the 40-yard line. You know what I'm saying? That's a 60-yard field. For Jay Daniels in this offense, you're almost guaranteeing a field goal, 3 points for them. We have to get better on this kickoff coverage, the tackling, because I've seen a lot of missed tackles on that kick coverage as well. You got Luke McCaffrey out there looking like Christian McCaffrey. I don't know what was going on. Okay? Tighten it up, man. Tighten it up. As we already know, special teams can lose you games and Super Bowls, and I don't want to see it again. We need to right this ship now. Special teams has kind of been up and down all year. Michael Clay had a phenomenal year last year. I really need him to get this unit in this group back on track. We mentioned complementary football earlier. The offense wasn't playing it. The defense wasn't playing it. In this game, neither was the special teams. And it wasn't, I'm not going to blame field position solely on the loss, but it surely wasn't helping.
Like you said, special teams can lose you a game, as you said 2 years ago with the big punt return from Kadarius Toney in the Super Bowl. Jake Elliott, we have full faith in him. But when I look around the league and even in our own division, when I see a former soccer player in Brandon Aubrey who comes in and it's 56, 58, 52, he's knocking them Jones through with ease. And it still has some room to go when he kicks it from 58 yards. It just seems like you said, I don't know if Jake Elliott is hurt, if he's lost the power in his leg, but it just seems like anytime we're 50 or it's 50 yards or more, he struggles mightily. As you touched on, he did make his first 50-yarder, but then he also did miss another 50-plus yarder that could have helped us right before halftime. But whether it's, I don't know if he needs to, I don't know if he needs to go back to kickoff duties, and that possibly may help him warm his leg up and things of that nature on a kickoff. But we definitely need to see a change in that, because when it gets down to the crunch time, when it gets into these playoffs and the Super Bowl where we're going to need these big kicks. Whether it's 50 plus yards, whether it's 40 yards, 30 yards, whatever the yardage is, we're going to need Jake to make these field goals, because you don't want to lose a game and we lose by 2 points. And you look back in the second or third quarter and be like, oh man, you know what? Jake Elliott missed that field goal. It could have been a whole different scenario and a different tune in our story if Jake Elliott puts it through the uprights. But like I said, we're going to keep building him up, and hopefully he keeps working on his craft to get better, because we're going to need him down the stretch. Braden Mann, you did a great job on punts. You were pinning them inside the 10, inside the 20. But with you on kickoff, we kicked off per BG and Bleeding Green Nation. We kicked off 8 times. Washington started on their own 40-yard line, their own 43-yard line, their 22, their 33, their 37, their 39, their 35, and their 43. Now, with the exception of the last one on where they started on a 43, that was on Sidney Brown. He left early before Braden Mann got to the kickoff. But what I watched was Braden Mann not be able to get the ball to the end zone. A lot of times when Braden Mann was doing kickoff, they were catching the ball on a 5 or 10-yard line and then getting great field position off of that. We haven't seen a lot of our kickoff coverage break down like that. It was one time where I saw Luke McCaffrey get one. He started running to the right. He set up his block, went to the left. If it wasn't for Braden Mann, I forgot the other player who was over there. Luke McCaffrey probably would have housed that. But that's something that we have to work on, because even still, with you not getting the ball to the end zone, you're putting the kickoff coverage and the defense, like we said, complementary football, in harm's way because of the field position. When you're starting at the 43 times in a game, that is outrageous. That is outrageous. So that's something that we need to focus on. And for context, if you do get the ball in the end zone and either the kickoff returner catches the ball and takes a knee, or you kick it directly over their head and they hold their arms out to let the refs know that they're not going to take the ball out. For context, you start at the 30-yard line. When you're starting at the 40-yard line, we talked off camera because you only really need 20 to 25 yards to get in the field goal range from there. So it didn't help our defense. Like we said, our defense, they broke down kind of in the fourth quarter. But like you said, it didn't help with the field position from the kickoff coverage unit and Braden Mann themselves. So Michael Clay, I know he's a phenomenal special teams coach. I know that he's going to have them ready from here on out, but that's something that we have to clean up because we say offense, defense, and special teams, all three phases need to work hand in hand and play complementary football. What I saw out there this past Sunday, I think that was by far the worst special teams performance that I've seen in a long time. But so that's something, like I said, that we have to fix. And I think that's something that's easily correctable, but we have to get on that now because it's not like we're in the beginning of the season in the fourth game or we're in the middle of the season in the eighth or ninth game. We look, boys and girls, we only have 2 games left. We only have 2 games left now before we get to the playoffs. And that's when the real football starts. You're going to play the best team. And then being the fact that we are the mighty Eagles, you're going to get the best shot from everybody. So that's something that we definitely have to rectify before we go on, because special teams, as we say on this channel all the time, can make and break a game, and you can lose a game off a poor special teams play.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, 2 weeks playoffs, man. The time is now. And I fully expect this group to get it together. Like I said, we have full faith in this ball club. For those who are feeling maybe a little concerned or you're a little shaky, don't be. This unit will be fine. Fortunately for us, we have somewhat 2 dud games coming up with the Cowboys and Giants, 2 teams who really aren't fighting for too much, even though the Cowboys have turned it up a notch since being really knocked out, but not really fighting for too much. So I expected the course correct before we really hit that playoff and really go on our run, but we will be fine, y'all. Mm-hmm. Everything will be good. As Fangio said, it was a blip. It was a blip. This unit is good. But some things to clean up, man. That's football. That's football. Every game can't be your best game. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, on a 10-game winning streak, we were about due. I hate to say it, but we were about due. So,
and we said off camera because we rather that happen now.
Absolutely.
That happened the first round of the playoffs in the wild card and the divisional round. Let's get this corrected now. So when we get into the playoffs, it's not nothing new to us. It's not like, oh, it's a shock. This happened. No, we have all this corrected. We're clicking on all cylinders, and we get to New Orleans where we're planning on heading to go to.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Anything else you want to mention on your mind?
I'm not even going to. No, I am. I want to talk about the refs because the refs, like I said again, the refs need to be reviewed. I've been looking across all of Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, even local Philly sports media.
They're murmuring.
Yes. And everybody is talking about the poor officiating.
Yeah.
They have to get evaluated because the fact that, like you told me off camera, because a lot of the calls that we get are detriments to us. It's more.
So
crazy
stat.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles are dead last in beneficial penalties, meaning most times or more times than not, when the Eagles are flagged, it's going against us. They're not flags to help us, holding on the defense and helping the offense move the chains or whatever it may be. Their penalties going against us most times putting us behind the sticks, or in a lot of opportunity or times we're on defense, we're getting a team off the field, it's third and whatever, flag, offense stays on the field, and a lot of times those drives end up in touchdowns. So dead last in beneficial penalties. Crazy stat to keep watch up for real.
Mm-hmm. And if you all know us, we're not one of the types that we beg for flags or we're like, hey ref, we need this to win. No, we just want to see this called fairly, and have the penalties evenly distributed. Because like you said, it's always when we're getting some momentum, it's always a flag where it's third and long, fourth and long, they get an automatic first down on plays, and then when we get flags or they get a flag against them, it's a 5-yard penalty, it's a 10-yard penalty, it's little settle flags.
Hey, offsetting, like what?
Offsetting all the time. You see what I'm saying, and that's something that I definitely notice, and what the refs do have to clean up, and should be evaluated for that. And a quick interesting fact is, I did a little research on the ref, Sean. What's his name? Sean Smith.
Sean Smith.
It's just so big that you're familiar with this area, Big Huss. It's about 15 minutes away from Detroit, Southfield, Michigan.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Right around the corner, bro.
That's where he grew up at. Attended Michigan State. So I believe that more than likely about 95% sure that he grew up a Detroit Lions fan. And as we talked off camera, with him possibly being a Detroit Lions fan, and the Lions being a feel-good story, they're the underdog. We can root for them because they haven't been good in so long. I just feel like the refs are catering towards the Lions, especially knowing that they have a lot of injuries and things like that, and they don't want nobody having to come through Philly to try to get to the Super Bowl. So I believe that a lot of the flags and things like that in that game with Sean Smith was because of the Detroit Michigan ties that he has.
They
but
saying that though.
You see what I'm saying?
We don't know, but it's looking a little
looking a
shaky
little
there.
shady there.
It's like
looking a little murky. Okay, but yeah, it's just I need the refs to do a better job because a lot of these calls that you are calling, you're costing us games, and obviously I feel have taken over the role of the Cowboys. Everybody hated the Cowboys back in the 90s and early 2000s. Now that the Eagles have sustained dominance and have been a well-ran organization for so long, I just feel like a lot of people don't like the Eagles. They don't like how we look. They don't like how we play. They don't like a lot of things about us. But that's just something to keep an eye on and monitor because, like I said, it just seems like for whatever reason, we're always getting a lot of unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. We're getting the big penalties that are a detriment to us. But yeah, that's all I want to say on the refs. I don't want to talk too much about the refs because, as you stated before in a prior video, Huss, we are all humans. We do make errors, but it just seems like their errors are super intentional. But
no, for sure. No, look, man, if you watch the games, you really know. Like I said, you just talked about it, so I'm not going to really go into it. But if you're the Eagles, players, coaches, whatever it may be, you have to communicate that to your coaches and your team for real. So go into the game with that in the back of your mind, like, hey, man, like we said, they're watching. You can't give them any real ammunition to use against you. You have to play a clean game from an execution standpoint, but just from a mental standpoint in general. Look, they're waiting for us to slip up so they could kind of F us over when they get the opportunity. So don't give them the ammunition to do it. Play clean, play fast, play smart. For the most part, everything else should take care of itself, because a lot of times when you're seeing them throw these flags, you don't see the players. I saw the CJ Gardner-Johnson. When you don't see the players really up in arms and arguing, I think they've already accepted and know what it is. And look, we're just going to have to fight through it. We're not only playing whoever we're our opponent, we're playing the refs too. So we know that. So just have to be a mature team, communicate, stay level-headed, play with controlled aggression. We'll be fine. Hey, I genuinely feel like they can't stop this train. This Eagle train it's gonna move regardless, baby.
No matter what they're trying to do.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So we'll be fine. Just play smart, fellas. Play smart.
Mm-hmm. And Big Hustle, all I want to do is say thank you to our supporters, our new supporters, our loyal supporters for continuing to support our community and becoming a part of our family, checking out our videos. We definitely appreciate y'all because like we said, we love doing these videos. As y'all see, Mr. Owens is not in his regular studio, but no matter what, me and Big Bro, we love the Eagles so much. We love our supporters. We love our community that no matter where we are, we're going to make a conscious and concerted effort to get these videos out to y'all. And like we said, don't worry about it. We're going to be fine because this is where we're heading to.
Yep.
Okay. Y'all, so don't get too down on this loss, but as I want to say, just make sure that y'all keep liking these videos so we can get it circulated in the algorithm. Make sure that y'all keep subscribing and becoming a part of our family and building this community up. Make sure that y'all keep leaving comments in our comment section as we love to respond back and interact with our supporters. And then make sure that y'all are clicking on that notification bell, also known as that Liberty Bell looking thingy, so you don't miss when Swoop comes out with the Eagles news and updates.
Absolutely. Like he said, hey, we appreciate y'all. Want to thank y'all for continuing to come out, tap in with us. You know what I mean? Check us out. I pray everybody's having a great holiday, a blessed holiday. You're warm, you're with loved ones. Santa's come and dropped off everything that you wanted and needed this year. Okay, hopefully we get blessed with another victory in this upcoming weekend. But if you don't know, I go by Big Husk.
And I go by Mr. Owens.
Hey, and this is the Main Thing podcast where we keep the main thing the main thing. Hey, we love y'all. Appreciate the support. Go Birds.
Yo, Birds.
Go Birds.
Plus, all I want for Christmas is a Super Bowl.
Straight up, though. Hey, man. Happy holidays, everybody. Oh, man. That was funny.
It was I was gonna make a lot of money doing what I wanted to do. I went after it, and it was a struggle to achieve it. But you know what? I caught that bitch. Dream chaser.